Hey, 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 good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great Monday. It's me, Rodney Allen Rippey, and you are here on the This Way Network, the chat session. I hope you're having a fantastic morning. Waiting on Nina to drop in. Nina will be here. And so I see a bunch of people here. Good morning, AC Cruz, Carrie, all our wonderful diehards out there. How you doing, Chloe? Saying hello to everybody. Good morning, good morning. Well, I have to tell you, this year is rolling right along, everybody. We're already off to a serious gallop. Look at this, March 3rd. Wow, we are 3 months in. I mean, we're almost like knocked out the first quarter here. I mean, we are rolling right along. I can't believe it. And so, Nina, I was talking to Nina, and actually, she had reached out to me, and she was filling me in on some stuff on today's topic, which is my heart, his home. And of course, that's all about the Lord. And that's what it's all about, keeping the Lord in your heart, in your home, in your life, all that good stuff. And I tell you, in this world, in this day and age, yeah, you definitely need to make sure you're completely locked in with the Lord because there's a lot of questions going. A lot of people are like, what's going on? And yeah, be calm, people. That's what it's all about. We have to make sure that we base all of our cares and worries and concerns and things like that on the Lord. Put it in the scripture, kind of weigh out everything. Everything makes sense. When you kind of thinking about that and thinking about everything that's going on, it's one of these things that you always say, okay, there's got to be a bigger purpose in here. There's something going on. And it's an exciting time because when that happens, everybody starts thinking, okay, the Lord is working, and that's a wonderful part about this. The Lord is always working behind the scenes. And that's what it's all. Hey, Elvira, what's going on? Hello, all. And I'm cleaning out the flower beds and I'm listening. Oh, that's awesome. Chloe, oh, my phone's ringing this morning. I'm telling you, getting the old good old morning started. And I had to put him on pause because everybody's calling saying, hello, good morning, Rodney. And now it's not the time. But I hope everybody's had a great weekend. I have been working on some things like that and got a dear, dear friend who is, what? It's a strange thing. It's amazing when you're looking at life and you're seeing things just kind of boom, just kind of come up. And big shout out to Angie Stone. Angie Stone, she's a big music artist. Poor thing. There was a tragic accident that happened and she passed away. And so a lot of people are always like, wow, how does these things happen? And it's one of those things that, we never have any answers. We don't know why these things happen. And everything from just your occasional up and down to losing a job or something like that. And for the most part, we're never prepared for the unexpected, but you can always prepare your heart. You can always be um, focused on the the main outcome. A lot of times people go, well, why does this happen? And everybody has a lot of questions, but for the most part, and prayers for you, Rodney. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. And also too, even with an illness, I have a friend who's kind of going through some health challenges right now and but she is a trooper, and it's all about that attitude and that faith and that understanding that what, who's really in control is the Lord. A lot of times people get really tore up, when things pop up, but for the most part, what will help you get through it is also knowing that what, I'm not by myself. The Lord's in this thing, and there has got to be some greater outcome. And that's the way to look at it, and I'm pretty excited about that, and learning, every day we learn more and more and more. And you see the sign of the times, you see what's happening in the news, you hear the type of things that people are talking about, and then you always make sure you go back to the scriptures and you start reading it and really dig in, and so the thing is today, my heart, his home. And so I was just looking here in the good old Bible, the Lord's word here, of course. And there are so many scriptures that coincide with the word heart. when you start talking about the heart, anytime, and basically it was in First Samuel, and yeah, First Samuel, and it was chapter 1 and verse 7. And it said, the Lord said to Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. And the Lord seeketh not as a man seeth, for the man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. Man, you know what? So many times people get caught up on a person's image, and they get caught up on so many things, but the Lord really, really looks at the heart. And so that's something that we all have to be. That's everybody on the planet. You have to be real with yourself, because no matter what you say, no matter what your thoughts are, the Lord like zeroes in right on your heart, and he knows exactly what you're thinking and what your intentions are. And so a lot of times when we look at even this political world, you kind of worry about, and you kind of think about, what is really at the heart of this situation? What is really at the deep, deep root? Who's behind it? Why are these decisions being made? Are they being made for the purpose of what we see? Or is there some kind of deeper agenda in the background running? These are things that are very, very important. So I'm pretty stoked about it, and learning these type of things. And everybody has to understand that we don't understand all things. Only the Lord knows exactly what's going on. We can kind of guess, but we do have the word as a guide. It kind of lets us know what is to come, and the word never changes. Lord never changes. So that's a good thing. So that's something that we can count on. And so if the Lord says it's this, that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be kind of, sort of. He means exactly what it says, because his word changes not and he changes not. So that's a good thing. And that's something that we can count on. And the one thing we definitely know, his love never changes for us, because what he did on the cross, he made it so that every man can come and receive their salvation, because he took it all upon him. So all we have to do is accept it. And that's such a beautiful thing. And I know that Nina, she has had some things going on too, with her sister and her brother and things like that, health wise. And so we're praying for Nina and her family as well, and my family. We have to pray for everybody. We have to pray for your neighbors, pray for your community, pray for the children, pray for the political people who are in high power making decisions, because a lot of times we can vote, and we are definitely there. We're part of it. We're the little gear that helps keep things turning. But the big outcome is the real agenda. Does it get accomplished? We just have to pray for that. And so, and I'm just looking here. Oh, I had nothing. I had to go out and come back. Well, okay. And so for the most part, we are pretty excited to see how this whole year is going to turn out. Everybody always says this year is going to be a better year, and that's what we really want. We want this year to be better, not just for, us, but for our fellow man. And so everybody's looking at these shifts and changes that are happening, and we're hoping that it all kind of balances out. So there's some big things going on. And so unprecedented, never seen, never expected. And some of these things are like really blindsiding people. But thank goodness that we're not in the decision-making power. We just have to kind of vote and believe and go with it, And right, Carrie says, I just want the evil to be gone. Well, the Lord says, his word says, the evil going to be around till he comes back, because that's when the big justice is going to happen, And so, and how do we maintain? By staying prayerful, by being real with ourselves, and letting the past go. A lot of times, we have a tendency to hold on to the past, and sometimes old hurts and things like that, And that's why we have Mia Pyle. Mia Pyle comes on from Pain Unwasted, and she's really, looking at it from a clinical standpoint. But people have things that are real hurtful in their lives. I mean, legitimately hurts, things that people might have failed someone, and but it sometimes we all have to realize that we're all just flesh and bones, and we all make mistakes. Some make bigger mistakes than others. Some of them make mistakes that are harder to let go and to forgive, but woo, that's something that we have to pray about, and we have to let the Lord kind of energize us to help us kind of keep pressing forward. And it's funny. I think Nina's coming. I think Nina's coming. Is Nina?
Hey,
Hey, Nina's here. Yay.
made it.
Yeah,
Yay.
wonderful. Well,
So good to see you, Rodney,
good to see you too.
and
You're-
all of you, Carrie and Chloe and
Yeah,
AC. Great to see
yeah,
y'all. Elvira, it's so good to see you, all of you.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I was just sitting there having a little chat session with our wonderful guest here, and again, you picked a great topic. My heart, his home. I think that's
mhm.
awesome. You know.
So let me tell you what prompted me to pick that,
Okay. Go
actually.
for
And before I do that, you
it.
probably already told the audience, but I want to know. We prayed for your friend last week, and I've been
Wonderful.
praying for your friend since then. So,
Hmm.
how is your friend?
I have to tell you, it's a miraculous thing. Sometimes when you get into these health challenges, a lot of people just go, well,
Mhm.
and they don't have uh they have a medical kind of outlook, and what I'm starting to understand is what really is going on is it's a faith walk. Sometimes some people
Mhm.
say, you know what, this is going to be the outcome, and of course the people in the medical profession, they have to be kind of real cut and dry, and let's just tell you what the possibilities are. But you know what,
Mhm.
we have a God that is full of impossibilities. And so there are things that I see, like there's just that shift in strength and that shift in awareness and a calmness. A lot of times people kind of panic, rightfully so.
Mhm.
There's a lot to
Mhm.
think about and how am I going to handle this and all these other things, but she's doing very, very solid, very solid. And I'm happy. I'm happy to have, been there and see this thing and just kind of keep her pumped up and keep her and
Mhm.
encouraged. And we had some friends and different people and come and visit. And so, you know, it's the flowers, it's the phone calls, it's all of those things that really matter. And so I think that and the whole point is it's a step by step process. I just said, hey,
Mhm.
one day at a time. I think that that's the best way. And but there is a praise report. It's really the she actually went into a care facility, and the neat thing about this is the care facility. I didn't say this. I don't know where this came from, but the care facility at one point they were saying, "Well, I think the person needs to go into hospice and things like that." And I said, "Okay." And the person was ready for that, but when we went to the care facility, they said, "You know what? We can always upgrade the person to hospice, but instead of that, we're just going to put her in extended care, and we're going to give her some therapy and stuff like that." And I was like, praise God. I'm like, I didn't say this.
Amen.
The person who's ill didn't even say this. The facility said that they're going to give her that kind of, and I said, you know what,
Mhm.
that is what gives people that fight and that drive and say, you know what,
Mhm.
I'm gonna take an active, I'm gonna walk this faith out, I'm gonna do this thing. And I said, that's gonna be
Mhm.
wonderful. So I'm excited about that. I think that that's gonna help with everything, circulation and moving around and all that
Oh,
good stuff.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I'm
so
so happy to hear that. That
everybody
is tremendous.
everybody
Yeah.
keep praying. That's what matters. And I appreciate that. And I'm
Mhm.
sure that she's praying and so thankful for all of us. And so that's cool. So how have you been, Nina? How have you been?
Well, I've been good. Um, I had an accident last week.
Oh
I was
no.
rear-ended.
Oh no.
Yeah. Now, there is surprisingly minimal so far. I haven't had it fully checked out yet, but I
Yeah.
think there's surprisingly minimal damage to my car.
Thank goodness. Thank God. Okay.
Just a couple of punctures is all I can see in the bumper.
Yeah.
But that in itself is a miracle when you consider what hit me.
Ooh, big.
So it was a very large pickup truck that was fully loaded,
Oh no.
and he was hauling a big box trailer that had 8 wheels under it.
Oh
One of
boy.
those really big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I gotta tell y'all this because
Yeah.
this is I really didn't know what to think out of this, but for about the last 3 weeks or so,
Mhm.
I kept having these thoughts coming unbidden to my mind
Mhm.
about being rear-ended. And I
Wow.
was like, "Well, where is that coming from?"
Mhm.
It's like,
Mhm.
never in my life have I been
Mhm.
rear-ended. So I was like,
Yeah.
it's not like I'm worried about something that had happened once happening
Right.
again or anything like that. It's like,
Mhm.
where are these thoughts coming from? And
Right.
after a while, I started wondering, God, are you trying to tell me,
Mhm.
this is coming at some point? Or am I just borrowing trouble? I'm not really sure. So
Wow.
anyway, but when I was on the road, then the
Mhm.
traffic in front of me was slowing down. So
Mhm.
I was riding my brake, how
Uh-huh.
you do when it's
Yeah.
slowing
Oh,
down.
yeah. Mhm.
And in front of me was an SUV Porsche.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. You don't wanna hit that one.
And when I realized there was a Porsche in front of me, that's exactly what I thought. I don't want to hit that.
Oh, right, right.
But the thought followed it immediately. Yeah, you better give it some distance because if you get rear-ended, you don't want to slide into that. And I'm like, there it is
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
And I'd no sooner had that thought than pow,
Wow.
I got rear-ended. I did not see it coming. I did not know,
Uh-huh.
I didn't know anything until
Wow.
it happened. So it was such a shock. And of course, your head goes back a little bit and then you go forward.
Yeah.
And when I went forward, I thought, "Oh, my head's about to hit the steering wheel." So I tried to pull it back up, and when I pulled it back up, I saw, "Oh, no, that Porsche is, like,
Oh,
just
no.
a few feet away." And I slammed on the brake, and when I slammed on the brake, of course, I go backwards. So, anyway, we just sat there for a minute, and the Porsche pulled on ahead. I thought, "Good." But
Right.
now I'm sitting there thinking, "All right, I'm shaking like a leaf."
Yeah.
The adrenaline that puts into your system.
Right, right.
And I thought, what do I do now? Do I pull
Mm.
over? But what if he
Yeah.
doesn't pull over? And, I'm
Yeah.
not sure what to do. And about that time, I look in my rearview mirror and I see what it is that hit me.
Mhm.
And I thought, oh my
Wow.
goodness, you know. And he gets out of his truck and he comes around to me and he says, "Ma'am, are you all right?" And I
Yeah.
said, "I'm pretty shaky."
Yeah.
My hands are just
Rightfully so.
going
Yeah.
like this. Yes, yes, I agree with you, Chloe. It is just like Jesus to warn you, to speak to you. And yes, that says to me that he loves me. A friend
Yeah.
was asking me yesterday, so what was the point of God warning you if you couldn't do anything about it coming? And
Right.
I said, because once it happened, it made me realize, oh, God was speaking to me.
Right.
And he prepared me in a way
Mhm. Right.
mentally
Right,
for
right,
this,
right.
so it wasn't a complete and total shock. So, and
Mhm.
I have to think, obviously, there's a reason for this happening. I don't know what it
Mhm.
is. But anyway, then the man, after he asked me if I was okay,
Mhm.
then he says, well, now the damage to your car is really minor.
Yeah.
And, we might not even need to, call. And he got
Mhm.
about that far. And I thought, the damage to my car might be really minor,
Right.
but that should be for me to say, not for you to say,
Yeah. Well, there but,
because,
he's
yeah,
probably
it's like,
thinking,
I think
yeah,
he's
it's
trying to minimize the damage a little
well,
bit,
the thing is,
you know?
you never know until you get in and take a peek, because sometimes things that
Exactly.
seem minor from just the eyesight.
Mhm.
There are things that could create leaks. There are things that could also do some other damage. So the rightful thing to say
Yeah.
is we got to take a look at it, make sure everything's okay. Because I don't want to
Right.
just say, okay, well, we'll just kind of shine this thing on. But the most important thing is, thank goodness you're okay. And so you're a,
I know.
Mhm.
I was so, I mean, not that I do have some, as they put it, micro tears in,
Yeah,
muscles, nothing major, nothing that's
right.
just soreness. But I've got
Mhm,
something to add about that. But let me finish telling you what else he told me. He said,
mhm.
um, I told him, I said, well, I think we're still going to need a police report because I'm also thinking I've got a
Mhm.
camera back there and sensors and,
Yeah. Oh,
in
yeah.
the,
Yeah.
so yeah, I need to get it checked out. And he
Right.
said, will we? And I said, yeah. I said, but let's go ahead and exchange insurance information. Do you have your insurance card? And he said, no, ma'am. And I said, do you have insurance? No, ma'am. I've been on a run of bad luck lately. And I thought,
Oh.
oh dear.
Ooh.
Lord, you know how empathetic I am. And yet, it was like God was reminding me, Nina, some of that bad luck he's been having lately is the poor choices he's been making. And then, right out of his mouth, right at that moment, he said, yeah, when I hit you, I was looking down at my phone in my lap. And I
Yep.
thought, yeah, that's one of those not great choices that you may just have made. And so God, it was like God was telling me, Nina, don't interfere with what I'm doing with this fan, you know.
Right. Right. Right.
So I told him, I said, well, I said, okay, my insurance will, take care of this for me, but I still have to have a police report because I can't find my insurance without one.
Mhm.
And so he said, well, I tell you what, how about I go back to my truck and if you could just wait a minute or two to call the police, then I'll try to get some insurance really fast. So I just nodded. I thought, well, you go do what you got to do, but I'm going to go ahead and
Yeah.
call 911 and, get somebody out here. And while I was on the phone with 911, it hadn't even been 20 seconds, I think. And here comes a policeman. And I said, wow, that was
Mm.
fast. The
Right.
policeman stopped and spoke to him. Then he came over to me and he said, he asked me if I was okay. And then he said, so there's an accident up ahead of you on this same
Oh,
road. And he said, I
wow.
got called to that accident and
Right.
trying
Right.
to get to that one is how I came across yours.
Right. Mhm.
So he asked me to pull over into a bank parking lot, and he asked the other driver to do the same. And while he went and took care of that accident, and then he came back to us. And in the interim, that gave me time to safely get out of my car, take
Yeah.
pictures,
Right. Right.
and then sit there and pray and notify my son.
Right. Right.
So, because my son lives in town, but he was picking up the kids from school right then. It's not
Mhm.
like he could come, but that was
Right.
okay. So after it was all over, the policeman comes around and he says, "Okay, I've taken a statement from both of you. I'm going to file it. I don't decide who is at fault. I let the insurance companies do that."
Mhm.
I said, "Okay." I thought, I guess that's going to be my insurance company deciding that. But as it turned out, I got a call yesterday from,
Mhm.
you know how it is. You get scammers who are trying to lock you
Right.
into, hey, whatever you do, do it with this doctor and we'll be your lawyer. And oh, did you know his insurance entitles you to up to 25,000 for medical liability and, et
Yeah.
cetera. And
Yeah.
they told me apparently he had gotten insurance while we were sitting there. So anyway, I thought, well, I don't have $25,000 worth of injuries, you know, and
Right.
my whole car isn't even worth $25,000. So,
Well,
no, you're not getting anything out of me. That's not going to happen.
right.
So anyway, all of this to say, though, once I got home and I was
Mhm.
looking at all of this, and I was also part of what I was trying to do when I was out that day. I've been
Mhm.
trying to get a room ready for my brother to come and
Mm.
stay
Mhm.
because he's coming here for his cancer treatment.
Okay.
and he's going to need to stay with me. So I
Mhm.
had things that I needed to take
Oh,
to donate, to get rid of so I could have the room
make
empty for
room.
him and
Yeah.
everything. And I was telling a friend of mine yesterday on the phone, we were talking about this, and I told her, I said, I'm feeling, even though I'm taking it to the Lord continually, I'm still feeling a certain amount of anxiety. Maybe
Right.
it's because, my brother's coming. I'm nervous about, will I
Right.
have the
Right.
room ready in
Lot going
time and
on.
all that
Mhm.
stuff. But we were also talking about, and I told her, I said, this is one of the things I think I'm not admitting to myself. My
Mhm.
brother's cancer case is pretty serious.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
in my life, I've sat at the bedside and been the caregiver for 4 people who have passed away.
Yeah. You
And
know,
even
and
though
Nina, can I tell you something? Do you
sure.
know this is the 4th person that I have helped and that's going through a health challenge, and I never in my life, never did I think that I would ever see, and matter of fact, last night was the Oscars here, and I had a friend of
Mhm.
mine that called me, and he was saying that there was an Oscar party, and he wanted me to go, and do you know, I actually went on Facebook, and I left a message, and I was actually at the care facility while the Oscars were going on, and I said, "You
Mhm.
know what? I wish I could be there." I said, "But I'm doing something far more meaningful. I'm here at a care facility." So I
Mhm.
wished all of the winners and the people who were nominated good. But the whole point is I made that post not for me. I made that post to let people know there are things way bigger going
Mhm.
on than what we see immediately. And just like with you and your situation, there's always something much bigger, like you're preparing for your brother. That's love, that's care, that's understanding. And even in the
Mhm.
middle of your fender bender, you're still pressing forward. So God bless you. And
And
sometimes,
and God's still making himself not just available, but
yeah,
known,
that's
his
right.
presence known. And
Yeah.
Rodney, I believe I'm writing this down, Carrie, about the SEACT.
Mm-hmm.
So she gave me I'll put that up there so y'all can see it too.
Mm.
She's telling me to do some research on SEACT, so I will. Thank you, Carrie.
All right.
Um,
For
anyway,
inflammation, probably good for inflammation.
yeah, could
Yeah.
be. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever heard of that before. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, Rodney, I believe that those moments when someone is passing from this life into the
Mm-hmm.
next one, I
Mm-hmm.
believe those are holy moments. And it's an honor to get to be present for them.
It
But
really is.
even though, oh, Carrie says it cures cancer.
Oh,
All right.
wow.
Well, let's hope that's true.
Wow,
That would be
I'd have to
awesome.
write that down too for my friend.
Yeah, for your friend. Yeah.
SAP. Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
even though those are holy moments and it's an honor to be there for
Uh-huh.
them,
Right.
it's still painful. It's still painful. And what I came to realize was I'm already kind of anticipating the pain. And that was
Mhm.
making me a little anxious, because it's like, oh, here that might be coming. And
Mhm.
I would not want to be doing anything else. I'm not shying away from the pain, but there is that, that hesitancy. I
Mhm.
can't help but think, but Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego,
Can you imagine?
even as they're walking into the fiery
Oh,
furnace,
goodness. Right.
uh, I'm sure God gave them grace. But
Mhm.
I can't help but wonder if before that they had this big knot in their stomachs and in their chest thinking, okay,
This is
I
the
know
end.
what I have to do, but I'm not looking forward to this part. This is going to be painful. And then, of
Yeah.
course, it wasn't. God turned it into something different. But that's what I
Mm.
was telling my friend
Yeah.
about. And she said, but Nina, she said, what if this time it
Mhm.
isn't painful? Or not like it was? Or what if, because you're a different person now,
Mhm.
God has
Mhm.
enabled you to take the pain in a better way
That's right.
than you had before? And it
Yeah.
made me think of, have you ever read the Chronicles of Narnia?
Oh, the movie. You know what? I heard so much about that. I heard someone was telling me about that, but go ahead. I'm listening.
So there's a scene in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. That's one of the books in the Chronicles of Narnia. They're
Mhm.
all in a ship. They've been on the ocean and they're
Right.
sailing to Aslan's country. And of course,
Mhm.
Aslan is representative of Jesus. And they're
Mhm.
sailing to Aslan's country. And as they're going, the sun seems to get brighter and brighter to the point where it's
Mhm.
painful to their
Right.
eyes
Mhm.
because, they're just humans. There's only so much they can take. But as they're going, they start
Mhm.
realizing, oh, wait a minute, we're starting to see some life down in the ocean that we didn't think we would be seeing.
Mm.
And we can see straight through. It's like the water is clear. We can see to the bottom. And
Okay.
eventually they get to where there's some lilies and
Mhm.
and they start realizing, oh, wait a minute, the water is different now. It's sweet. It's not salty anymore. It's
Wow.
sweet now.
Mhm.
And one of them had fallen in and he got water in his mouth. And as he comes back up, Reepicheep, if you've ever read the book,
Yeah.
when he comes back up, he's telling them the water's sweet. We can drink it. We can drink it. So they start hauling it
Mhm.
up because, they were
Isn't
running
that
low on
something?
water and they start drinking it. And what they realize is as they drink the water, their eyes are strengthened. So
Wow.
even though the sun does not diminish, it's still getting greater and greater. The light
Yeah.
is as they get closer to Aslan's country. Their eyes are enabled to take it in without the pain.
Mm. Great
And
symbol.
I thought about that when she was telling me this yesterday. I thought,
Mhm.
oh, every time we go through this, yes,
Mhm.
it might still be painful, but it's um, God is enabling us every time we do it so that the next time we are a different person when
Right.
we come to it,
Right.
he is
Right.
strengthening us, enabling us. So she ended up sending me something right after we hung up off the telephone. And this is where I
Mhm.
got the title for today's show.
Mhm.
She said, I am behind in reading my reminders app today, but this one just popped up. And Nina, I think it's for you. And it
Oh.
says, my heart is his home. It is filled with abundance that overflows in gratitude. My
Mhm.
heart is unlimited to the love it can receive and give to others.
Mhm.
With this mindset, difficulties transform to opportunities for Jesus and I to commune and act in love.
Wow.
That was so meaningful to me. I loved
Yep.
it.
Yep.
I
That's
couldn't
what.
get it off my mind. So when we picked a topic for today, I was like, we need
Yeah.
to talk about that. Our
Yeah.
heart is his home and he's always doing something in us.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's really true. And it's funny. The one thing that is it's really incredible. But if you are there, and some people have been, I have actually stood
Mhm.
there and watched a person transition and pass away.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I have to be honest, this isn't something that you just make up. I'm sure that many people who have been there might be some similar feeling, but I was there when my mom passed away,
Mhm.
and I literally felt like something went out of the room. I literally
Mhm.
felt, and it just gave me chills at that moment, and I felt like there is something beyond this life.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
was wow, and it was like for a second there, I just said, "Don't panic, don't feel, just experience this moment because there is a transition.
Yeah.
There is a leaving." And I
Yeah.
thought like, and then I said, "Well," and then I started thinking about, you know, absent in the body, present with the Lord. And you start thinking about, wow, what are all the things that people must see? And again, you try not to
Mhm.
think about someone passing, but I started thinking about this, and while I remember standing there at that moment, and I remember the sob started and people, and it was all of this, because the room probably had close to 12 people in it. me and my
Mhm.
auntie
Mhm.
and other people, because everybody was at the hospital at that moment. The room was packed. It was, it was standing room only.
Mhm.
And while people started to sob and cry, and I heard that, it just kind of droned in my mind. And I started thinking, I said, but you know what, Rodney? Don't fall apart. Mama is standing with grandmama right now. They all welcome her. And I started thinking
Mhm.
about, I said, Mama's with grandma and granddaddy. And I started thinking of all the cousins,
Yeah.
people, and that welcoming. And I almost felt a sense of peace. And I said, you know what? Mom might be gone. I said, but there's a reunion. And I was like, wow,
Mhm.
I bet that is something. And then I started thinking about all the colors and the feeling and the glory, because they say there's no sun, but the Lord's countenance is so powerful in heaven.
Yes.
Everything just sparkles. And I started thinking about that. And I said, you know what? It ain't a half bad thing to think about. When a person
Mhm.
passes away, of course, we're gonna miss them. We're gonna all this other stuff, but you want to release them so that they can go to glory. You don't want to keep them on this
Yes.
earth and keep them in sickness and pain. And
I would hope we wouldn't want to do that.
yeah, but,
We're
people do, because they don't want to let people go. They really
Mhm.
don't. No, we understand that. But you know what? I started thinking, I said, you know what, Rod? Let her go. Let mom go.
Mhm.
Just prepare yourself and understand that she is in glory. She really,
Yes.
really is. And I was like, wow,
Yes.
you know, and that's why we should prepare ourselves, prepare our hearts,
Mhm.
prepare our lives. When the Lord says, hey, I died on the cross for you. All your sins are forgiven. All you have to do is receive. All you got to do is receive what I've done.
Mhm.
Man, that's a pretty good deal. When you had somebody do it all you got to say is I accept it and I believe it and understand it. Wow.
Mhm.
Gives you a whole
Yeah.
new perspective.
Yeah. Oh, Chloe, this is so true.
Yep.
Dying is just a part of living because you don't stop living after your
Mhm.
body dies.
That's
Your
right.
soul continues on and is still living.
That's
And
right.
it's like you said, Rodney, when the first death that I ever attended was actually my son. And
Oh,
he was just 3.5 when he passed away.
yeah.
And I remember right after he passed, he was in ICU and they said, we'd like you to step out while we get him cleaned up and stuff. And
Mhm.
then you
Mhm.
can come back in. And they brought me back in. They'd put a rocker next to the bed.
Mhm.
And I sat down and they lifted him off the bed and put him in my arms. And then
Oh,
they retreated so I could have that moment alone with him.
right, right.
And I looked into his face and I remember thinking, he's not here.
Yeah.
He isn't here.
Right.
And I
Right.
almost felt like it felt so odd because you've spent so much time caring for this body,
Mhm. Mhm.
trying to make sure that he has what he needs and
Mm.
you know, he's okay.
Mhm.
And then the body dies and you think he doesn't have need of anything anymore.
Right. That's right.
So I was just, trying to sit there and enjoy the moment with my son, but then I
Mhm.
realized he isn't here. And
Right.
for the first time, I thought about where he was
Right.
and who he was with. And
Wow.
I started crying out of gratitude. I
Yeah.
was just so grateful. And I thought, oh, I'm going to miss him so much, but
Mhm.
I wouldn't bring him back here. How
Right.
when he's seen that, how could I ask him to come back here?
Right. Right.
When this is but a shadow
That's
of
right.
all of that,
All
and
the good
he
things.
sees things now that I can only guess about,
Yeah. And hope
that
for.
I can only wonder about, yeah, and
Yeah.
hope for.
Wow.
So, that's been in my mind now every time I've attended someone who's passing, and I
That's right.
think about, right after that moment, I think, "Oh, they just stepped into glory. What are they seeing? What
Right.
are they hearing? What are they experiencing?"
Wow. Wow.
And then I realize, beyond my tears for gratitude, any other tears I have are all about the loss that I'm anticipating feeling. The
Right.
hole that they're leaving here that I'm going to be
Mhm.
feeling, and all those
Yeah.
times where I'm going to be thinking, oh, I should call them, and oh, I can't call them.
Right. Right.
I should text them and tell, no, can't text them. They're not here,
Right.
or won't see their face again or won't hear their voice again
Mhm.
for now,
But that's
but
why
it makes heaven so much more real to
that's right,
you
and
though.
that's why we should always remember now is the time to let someone know you love them. Sometimes, you get that feeling like, I'm really busy, there's a lot going on, but man, I hadn't talked to this person lately. And when you have that feeling, by George, you better pick up the phone and call them because it
Yes.
was it was the strangest thing. I remember I had a buddy of mine from high school. He called me and we talked on the phone. And
Hmm.
I it was weird. I was busy one day and the phone rang. It was one of my high school buddies. We all used to hang out. And he said, "Hey Rippy, how you doing?" I said, "Hey man, how you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, hanging in there." He says, "I'm in the hospital." And this guy was on our track and field team. This guy was
Hmm.
strong as an ox. I mean, that boy could run. He was strong. And I was like, okay. I said, "Oh man, I've been seeing your posts on Facebook, you in the gym." I said, "Man, you looking good." I said, "Whatever you going through." I said, "You got this." And he's like, "Yeah, Rippy." And he said, "Pray for me." And I said, "You know what? I will." And I said, "You know what? You called me." I said, "I am not waiting." I said, "We're gonna pray right now." And we did. And he
Hmm.
says, "Thank you, Rippy, man, for praying for me." And he goes, "Man, hey man, I'll talk to you soon." I said, "All right, man." I said, "Well, I'll check in on you, Next week he passed away. And I was
Hmm.
like, I talked because when my friends, from high school reached out, they said, "Man, did you hear the word?" I was like, "What?" They said, "Carl Bass." I said, "What?" I said, "I
Hmm.
just talked to him last week." And I didn't know that things just shift. One minute somebody's
Yes.
talking to you and they're gone. So I started thinking about
Hmm.
that and I said, wow. And it really, really, really touched my heart. And I said, I can't believe that he called me. And but it's those things, it's those moments, it's those real serious moments when things happen like that. But
Hmm.
yep,
Hmm.
don't forget. Yep. Wow, timing. That's right. You're
Hmm.
absolutely right. And I'm not the only one. There's plenty of people. There's probably people on here. And when a person tells you that they think they're going to pass away or they have some kind of knowing. They have some kind of knowing about
Yeah.
it.
Oh
And
my goodness, yes.
and
My
so
I had a cousin that,
mhm,
not quite a year before he
mhm.
passed away,
Yeah.
um, and this is really interesting to me because we had only just met maybe 2 years before.
Uh-huh.
Even though he's my cousin,
Right.
you know, um, his side of the family, um,
Yeah.
the generation before him, some of them became estranged from
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah. It
But
happened.
he started doing, family research and genealogy, and he found out he had this whole other family that he didn't even know. And he thought,
Right.
well, I'm not going to let their squabbles,
Yeah.
uh, keep me
Separate.
from knowing my family.
That's
So he
right.
contacted us,
Yeah.
and I told my dad about it. My dad was thrilled to meet him, and they came down from Tennessee to
Right.
see us, and
Mhm.
and it was great
Mhm.
getting to know him. He was one of those people that I found myself thinking, "Oh man, I wish
Mhm.
I had gotten to know you all along because you really
Mhm.
are a great guy." And he was wonderful about bringing people together, connecting people.
Right.
So anyway, I had the pleasure of knowing him for maybe 2, 3 years tops.
Mhm.
And then one December, he calls me out of the blue,
Mhm.
and we're talking, and he says to me, I asked him, "Well, what have you been doing lately?" And he said,
Right.
"Well," he said, "I've been getting ready." I said, "What are you getting ready for?" And he said, "I'm getting ready to die." And I was like, "Whoa." I said,
Mhm.
"Brandon, is there something you
Mhm.
need to tell me?
Yeah.
Something happened? Have you got a diagnosis or something that?"
Yeah.
He said, "No." he said, I think God has just let me know that something is going to happen and I need to get ready. And I said, well, how are you getting ready? He said,
Yeah.
well, I did the typical stuff. I picked out where I want to be buried and I,
Wow.
made my will, etc. He said, but more importantly, I am getting into the word of God.
Let
And
me
he
tell you,
said,
that's powerful.
yeah, he said, I'm spending as much time as I can in the presence of God, letting God speak to me, talk to me. And I thought, wow, that is tremendous. That's amazing. And
That's
I can't think of anything you could do that would prepare you better for life or for death
that's
than
right.
to do that.
That's right.
So, you know, I kind of put it in the back of my mind. I asked him, I said, have you talked to your family about this? And he said, no, no. He said, my family would only worry and they would shoo me and say, hey, stop talking like that. Because they
Right.
wouldn't want to think that he's going to die. He said, but, God, he said, I know God has told me this.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, wow. And he's telling me, I guess, because I am family, but I'm not the one who is there with him every day. And therefore, it's not going to affect me the same way it's going to affect them,
Right.
you
Right.
know. And so he's trying to protect them. I get that.
Right. Right.
So anyway, fast forward to the following September,
Mm-hmm.
he came down with COVID, got put in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know for certain, but I
Mm-hmm.
think the drug that they gave him, which was the standard thing that they were giving everybody who was having trouble then,
Mm-hmm.
actually did him more harm than good, caused kidney failure, and he passed away in the
Goodness gracious.
hospital.
I'm telling you.
And it was such a shock. Yeah, I think so, Carrie. He did know I would understand.
That's right.
So, but it was such a shock to us. But
Mm-hmm.
I thought about that conversation I'd had with him. And I thought, oh my goodness, God did
Mhm.
tell him. God gave him the opportunity,
You're right.
to take care of being ready, to draw
Mhm.
closer to God and be ready for that moment.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's those things, Nina, that when we hear those type of stories, that's for everybody. I mean, that's that he was telling you his story, but at the same time, by him telling you, that also gave you a thought, and that you know what,
Mhm.
we should always be prepared because I have to say it. Everybody is going to have that day. Everybody, and you
Mhm.
know what? It's funny. I thought about that, and as many times as we've seen people pass away, and I said, "Wow, that day will come at some point, and you have to just be prepared. You have to
Mhm.
be. You don't need to walk around and fear it. And oh, it's gonna, you know, you might as well understand the inevitable and know
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
will come. And sometimes we don't want it to come in a tragic fashion, and sometimes things come unexpectedly. So we should
Mhm.
always be prepared and have our life in the right state,
Mhm.
and just like he said, hey, I want to draw closer to the Lord. Nothing wrong with that. If a person ever says anything about pointing themselves towards the Lord, always encourage that, because if a person's talking
Mhm.
to you like that, you know,
Mhm.
you want them to assist any way you can, because you want to make sure that they can get into the kingdom regardless of how they get there. you
Mhm.
know and I tell
Mhm.
people all the time, a lot of times people they talk about things, and yes, life is rough, but you don't want to show up uninvited. The Lord's going to call everybody home. Don't show up
True.
uninvited. So take care of yourself. The Lord's like, boy, I had some more work for you to do. What are you doing here? You're like, whoo. So you want to make sure that you are there on time. Never too late,
Mhm.
never too early. Just be on time.
Rodney, something else I was concerned about with my son.
Yeah.
When he was diagnosed with a liver disease when he was just 6 weeks old. He didn't
Yeah.
pass away till he was 3.5. But at
Mm,
6 weeks old, I already knew he had a terminal illness. They told me he was going to need a transplant to survive. Back
yeah.
then, transplants were rarely being done,
Right.
rarely.
Yeah.
And they were
Especially.
still considered experimental. Insurance wouldn't even cover it. So here I am. I'm thinking,
Mhm.
what if he doesn't get the transplant? What if?
Mhm.
And I remember one evening I'm sitting there with him in my
Mhm.
arms and I'm praying and
Mhm.
I'm trying to, you know,
Right.
reason with God and tell him
Right.
why he needs to perform a miracle and do
Mhm.
what I'm asking, to save my son, for my
Mhm.
son to survive. And and he doesn't tell me, which way it's going to go. But what he does show me is, Nina, because I was asking him, God, how can I function with this knowledge? I've got two
Mhm.
other kids I have to take care of.
Yeah.
How can I function with the knowledge that at any moment this child could die in my arms?
Mhm.
I mean, I thought I'm just going to be a mess. And I thought this was so remarkable. I was like, God, I need help here. And I thought the only way to help me was for God to assure me, oh, your child's not going to die. But
Mhm.
no, here's what God says to me. Well, Nina, one of your other kids could die today.
Wow.
You could die tomorrow,
Right.
and you wouldn't even be here for that. Now, I know that feels kind of like, ooh, but I tell you what it
Mm.
did for me. I was even shocked because I was like, gee, I didn't think that would be comforting. But I realize it is, because what God is telling me is I live with the knowledge of that every day. We all do. We
Right.
all live with the knowledge, knowing that our dear ones could be gone at any moment, or that
Mhm.
we could be gone at any moment.
Yep.
So, how do we function? We just don't keep it on the front burner, because you
Yeah.
can't,
Yeah.
because then you wouldn't be able to function.
No.
But he said, I'm giving you the opportunity in
Mhm.
letting you know ahead of time that this could be coming,
Right.
to live intentionally with your children.
Mhm.
And I thought that was such a blessing, because I
Mhm.
realized how often up until
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
I had my mind somewhere else when dealing
Right.
with my kids.
Mhm.
They come up to me, "Oh, mommy, look at this," and they're wanting to tell me
Yeah.
what's on their heart, and I'm thinking, "Uh-huh, sweetie. Oh, I gotta take the roast out of the freezer, and I still gotta take that thing to the cleaners,
Yeah.
and, I gotta do this, I gotta do that," and I'm only half paying attention to my child. And God
Right.
was telling me, "I'm giving you the opportunity to be fully present on
Right.
purpose,
Well,
so that,
I go ahead.
whatever happens, you will have
Mhm.
no regrets
Right.
afterwards."
I have to tell you, the moment that my mom passed away, I said to myself, wow, like I said, when all of that crescendo of people crying and people murmuring, at that moment, I said to myself, I said, you know what, Rodney? In your mind right now, lock in everything that mama ever said to you. Remember the
Mhm.
correction, the stuff that she said, the good times, the memories, the jokes, the whatever it was that she said. And literally, I just closed my eyes and I literally locked off thoughts in my head. I said,
Mhm.
because mom's gone, there won't be any more additional information. Everything that she told you. And then I started thinking about things like recipes and watching her cook in the kitchen. And believe it or not, some of the things in the style of her cooking, I use till this day. And I remember being a kid and I had a button that was loose on a shirt. And I came to my mom and I said, Mom, my button's loose on my shirt. Can you sew it on? And my mom said, Come here, Rodney. She took me in, opened up her little tackle box for by the sewing machine, gave me a needle, gave me some thread. She goes, put that thread through that hole. I'm like, huh? What? I'm like, I'm all, she go, oh, you can do it. I said, how do you do this? She said, you can do it. She go, lick it and twist it. So I'm all licking and twisting.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I'm all, and I finally get it in. I get the thread. And my mom says, okay, take the needle and do this. And the next thing you know, my mom is sitting there coaching me. And she says, okay, put it through, loop it over, put it back through, run it under, pull it through. And she said, now, there you go, Rodney. There's your button. And the whole time I didn't realize that she was teaching me. And she goes, now you'll never have a wobbly button. She goes, now you don't, now you see that you can do it.
Mhm.
And
Right.
I'm telling you, if I ever have a button that looks crazy, I'm like, well, let me go get my needle and thread. But those life lessons, those little moments like that, you never forget them.
Oh, that is so true.
True.
That is so true.
Yeah.
I remember a moment when we were in the hospital
Mm-hmm.
and we had made an emergency visit to the hospital, got airlifted to Vanderbilt. So I'm up there. I have nothing with me. I don't have a suitcase or anything. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sleeping on a little couch
Yeah.
in my son's room. And I was thinking about the week before. And the
Mm-hmm.
week before, we had been at church and I had taken each one of my kids, into their respective rooms in the nursery.
Yeah.
And one of my children was having he's in that season of development, I guess, where he doesn't want to be away from
Right.
mom. So he
Right.
starts crying, and like, and I thought, well, it's not unreasonable because he's moved up to a new class and he doesn't know these people
Right.
right now.
Right.
And it was right at that moment that God spoke to me while I was standing in the hospital by my other son's bed and he was going to sleep. And it was like God spoke to me and he said, your son right here, any of your sons, when they come to me, are they going to know who they're coming to?
Wow.
Are they going to, and I started saying, oh God,
Wow.
how do I prepare them now so
That's
they
right.
won't feel like they're going to a stranger?
Tell them about it. That's right.
Yeah. So
Beautiful.
we so
Beautiful.
that's what we did. I started talking about God to him
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And because I wanted God to be as real to him as I was, so
That's
that when
right.
he went, it would not be scary for him at all.
That's beautiful.
And
That's
I don't
beautiful.
think it was. But we
Yeah.
should all be
Wow.
doing that with our kids, and not just our kids, with the other people around us too.
That's right. Prepare who
Mhm.
they're gonna meet, and there's a process, and the thing is, I thought about that. You say that when he opens the book of life, I started thinking about that. I said, man, boy, oh boy. And you think of everything in your life that from the beginning to that moment, everything that happened, why it happened, the decisions we made, the ups, the downs, the wins, the losses. And I think about that and I'm like, wow. And I think that so many people are fearful, oh, that's why you receive that forgiveness. That's why you ask for forgiveness. You let it go and you move on. You
Mhm.
forget the past, whether it was self-inflicted or somebody else inflicted it. You just have to say you have to grab that strength that you have and to go forward. And I'm sure
Mhm.
Mia and Pain Unwasted and yeah, Pain
Mhm.
and I was just talking about her earlier before you hopped on. And you know, it's a real deal. Mia never says shy away from your feelings. They're legit
Mhm.
feelings. How
Mhm.
you deal with them and how you let it work on you, that's the big difference. And so, but it's beautiful. My goodness, we're out of time. It's 9:31.
Ah, really? Wow.
Time
It
flies.
goes by so quickly. It always goes
Yeah.
by so quickly,
Yes, yes.
especially when we're talking about heavenly things. Yeah.
Well, you can never
Thank
talk
you.
about heaven enough. Yeah. The scripture says, tell them when they walk in the way, when they're lying down, yep, that's right. When you get up, wow, that's beautiful. I knew that my aunt Shelby talked about her daughter all of her life. That's right. That's
Mhm.
a beautiful thing. And I think that, a lot of people talk about all kind of stuff. They talk about sports, they talk about the weather, they talk about politics. And a lot of
Mhm.
times, they say that people say there's two things don't talk about, politics and religion. I'm like, look, you talk to me about the Lord any day you want to, anytime. I don't care. I could be in the middle of putting a
Mhm.
jigsaw puzzle together. If you got something to say, as long as it's legit, as long as it's correct, as long as it's in alignment with the doctrine, I want to listen to it. Anything
Mhm.
crazy about how you feel or what some Joe Blow said, I can pass on that. I really can. But if it's biblically based, sound scripture, I got ear
Mhm.
for that any day of the week. anytime, any moment, that's what it's all about. So,
Thank you, Chloe. We love you too. And thank you for all the comments you dropped in here.
yeah,
Not just you, but you also, Carrie, and
yeah,
your contributions. You can't know, even if we haven't put them up on the screen.
yeah.
I usually go back after the show and read them all, and they mean so much
That's right.
to us.
Right. And we
Yeah.
appreciate
And we learn from you. Yeah.
That's right. So it's not alone. When our little chat sessions like this and the guests that we have on, it's really for us to have that community, and we're appreciative of the This Way Network, the chat session, all the other shows that are on, and Michael doing a great job with the network, growing it, and everything from the political commentary. So that's what it's all good. Yep, let's go another hour. Oh, that's right. I appreciate that, AC.
Thank you, AC.
Yep. Well, it is Monday, and so that means there's work to do. There's things to do.
Yep, that's true. So we got to go.
Yeah.
So y'all, thank you all for being with us this morning, and just talking through these things with us.
That's
You're helping us more than you know.
And again, thank God that you're okay. Everybody keep praying for Nina, that she's okay and her little car is okay and all that good stuff. And I hope everything, and you know what, you are correct by the way that you did things, and thank God that everything kind of worked out. You didn't have to know how it happened, but as long as there was some insurance take care of damages, okay. And it's all good. And the most important,
and like I said, considering the size of what hit me, I know that was a miracle that there was such minimal damage to my car and to me. Oh, and I forgot that. I'm sorry, we're a little late, I know, but one tip I want to give you: my chiropractor told me, because I was already so sore and I was getting headaches and stuff, and he said, "Yeah, you've got a lot of little micro tears in your muscles because of the jerking around and everything." And he said, get you some tonic water with quinine in it, because what makes you sore is the lactic acid that builds up from those injuries in your muscles. And the lactic acid is neutralized by the quinine.
Wow.
I'd never heard that before. So, but I'm here to testify to you. I got some. I drank it. I didn't even have to drink very much. It was not even 7 ounces, but it really, really helped. I was shocked. Yeah. So there you go. Anytime you have soreness from injury or from exercising or whatever, get you some tonic water with quinine in it.
Wow. Okay. Good note.
All right. There's a tip for the day. Yeah, we're gonna go, everyone. Thanks again for joining us, and y'all be of good courage. God is with us, and we aren't alone.
Amen.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great week, everybody. Take care.